Glen Martin Taylor's teacups depict a stereotypically feminine item, a body, a purposeful tool that has been shattered. It is a porcelain cup's nature to break. Inevitably, they are mishandled. Many women will feel crushing empathy. Glen does not put these teacup bodies back together to be the same as before. Their purpose is no longer for others. They are still beautiful, but beautiful in their ability to destroy. Gone are the desired soft curves used to hold. They have been replaced with a form representative of their rage at someone daring to destroy them. He uses an arte povera version of kintsugi, a traditional Japanese method from the 16th to 17th century, used to mend broken pottery with silver or gold. It's a technique that generally makes something higher value, but the way he does it is not with precious metal, nor is it neat, or even a usable object. It leaves a scar, not hiding that the item has been changed by the incident. He rejects all the traditional ideas of the practice. There is no peace and acceptance and tranquility. The method states that if you want to continue using the broken item, you must make it functional again. These seem functionally inept, but what if the function is to use it as a weapon? Gender is common as a basis of horror films. The female body itself is the site of horror. Barry Keith Grant states that it may be possible to see the entire genre is about patriarchy and the challenges to it. Horrors use the technique of othering to create fear around sexuality and gender. Monster is to normality as homosexual is to heterosexuality. It's scary because it's a threat to societal expectations. There is a Freudian basis for fearing so-called sexual deviancy, i.e. hedonism and queer women relations. Historically, this has been seen as a threat. You could argue all horror is propaganda, as it emotionally teaches us through fear. Historically, the horror was centered around protecting sexual virtue. Women are statistically worse off in horror films, taking longer on-screen to die as a twisted form of entertainment. Bela Lugosi says, "It is women who love horror, gloat over it, feed on it, are nourished by it, shudder and cling and cry out, and come back for more." In the 1976 film Carrie, we follow a young girl through the apocalypse of puberty. She starts angelic, porcelain skin depicted with a pool of heavy water, then tragedy, clear water replaced with blood, evidence of her new impure state. She, as a cup of a woman, shatters. There is an implication that puberty turns little girls into monsters, or in other words, women, and that having more power and urges is dangerous.
First sin was intercourse.
I didn't sin, Mama.
Say it!
I didn't sin, Mama!
First sin was intercourse. First sin was intercourse. First sin was
And the
intercourse.
first sin was intercourse, Mama. I was so scared.
Jennifer's Body is a film with themes of sexuality and gender, and plays on the traditional depictions of both. Jennifer has a lot of casual sex with multiple partners, while Needy has a boyfriend. It's important to note though that neither of them is depicted as straight or reliant on men.
You told me to always be gay.
This more modern horror film uses satire to make fun of older horror films, and is now considered a queer feminist cult classic. There are more gross scenes that make it clear this is not a film just meant to use Megan Fox as eye candy. She's made to look disgusting, but she's also conventionally attractive. The film switches between female and male gaze to emphasize this duality. When men went to watch the cinematic release, they felt manipulated because they were expecting the standard horror film and claimed it wasn't hot enough. By calling the film Jennifer's Body and having a predominantly male audience in cinemas on release, they proved exactly the point they were trying to make. They wanted to drink from the teacup, but got cut. Unlike other horror films where sexuality is the female villain's downfall, Jennifer only survived being sacrificed because she wasn't a virgin, and Needy ended up killing the real villains. Jennifer and Needy are both strong women while being non-functional to the male characters. Jennifer doesn't work as their sacrifice, and in breaking her, she becomes a beautiful weapon. In the end, we cannot draw a political conclusion from the differences of Needy and Jennifer's sexual habits, as they both end up as murderers. There are no divides like good or bad, functional or dysfunctional, between the female leads. Black Swan is a film about a docile ballerina that becomes a violent, confident, queer woman, partly as a result of assault and pressure from her older male ballet director, welding her into shape. She is cracking under the pressure to perform, the ballerina being the pinnacle of everything a woman should be, a perfect performance. And she does break, but we can't look away from the monster she becomes. Her cracks are not being filled to make her the same. She is transformed into something uniquely haunting, destroying the idea of being as good as new. In these films, the horror is on base level the female villains, but if we look deeper, the horror is what is done to them to make them this way. There is a power in what they become, much like with Taylor's pottery. They've been reinvented as weapons of femininity. Taylor is a man from Ohio, USA, who has stated this work as autobiographical. He himself pushes gender norms on his work by saying the thread represents his mother and the metal his father. This video has not taken his own view of his work into account at all. We are inserting a queer feminist narrative onto Taylor's work the same way we can on old horror films, to provide some sense of solidarity and representation in media and art. It can be a powerful commentary on the changing perceptions of queer women today. Where women are victims, it's a real truth of their lives depicted on the screen, and when the women are villains, it's a vision of utopia.